Imagine packing your camping gear for what was supposed to be the perfect family vacation. 3 generations, 2 vehicles, 1 breathtaking wilderness. Grandparents, parents, and 2 young sisters set off into the forests of British Columbia in the summer of 1982. A few days later, the grandmother called home, "We're having a wonderful time." Those would become the last words anyone outside the family would ever hear. Then, they disappeared. No goodbye, no distress call, no abandoned campsite. Just 6 people swallowed by one of the largest wilderness areas in Canada. 6 weeks later, investigators found something chilling: a burned-out family vehicle hidden high on a remote mountainside. What followed became one of the biggest manhunts in Canadian history. But decades later, one question still divides true crime investigators. Was justice really served? Or was a man sentenced on evidence that still leaves room for doubt? Tonight, we're uncovering the shocking story of the Wells Gray family murders, a case filled with mystery, tragedy, and controversy. Before we begin, if you enjoy deeply researched true crime documentaries, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another case. Now, let's go back to the summer of 1982. August 1982. The Johnson and Bentley families planned what should have been an unforgettable holiday. Bob and Jackie Johnson, their daughters Janet, 13, and Karen, 9, along with Jackie's parents, George and Edith Bentley. Together, they packed 2 vehicles and headed toward Clearwater Valley, near Wells Gray Provincial Park in British Columbia. The area was and still is a paradise for campers. Towering forests, crystal-clear lakes, wild rivers, and hundreds of miles of isolated wilderness. It was the perfect place to escape civilization. Friends described the family as close, hardworking, and excited for the trip. Nothing suggested they would never return. On August 6th, Edith Bentley made a phone call to relatives. She sounded happy, everything was going well. The family was enjoying their vacation, no fear, no concern, no indication that anything was wrong. After that call, silence. Days passed, then weeks. When the family failed to return home, relatives became worried. Eventually, police were contacted. At first, investigators assumed the family had simply become stranded somewhere in the enormous wilderness. Search teams combed forests, helicopters flew overhead. Volunteers searched trails and rivers, but there was nothing. It was as if the entire family had vanished without leaving a single trace. Nearly 6 weeks later, everything changed. Searchers discovered one of the family's vehicles. It had been driven to a remote mountainside, then deliberately burned. For investigators, this immediately ruled out an accident. Someone had gone to great lengths to destroy evidence. Soon afterward, authorities located the bodies of all 6 family members. The discovery shocked Canada. Entire generations of one family had been wiped out. What began as a missing person investigation instantly became one of British Columbia's worst mass murder cases. Police now faced an even more difficult question. Who could commit such a brutal crime, and why? Detectives retraced every movement made by the victims. Witnesses described seeing another camper in the area. A man named David Shearing. He wasn't an ordinary tourist. Investigators learned he had a history of theft and break-ins at campsites. As they dug deeper, more suspicious details emerged. Witnesses placed him near the Johnson family's campsite. Some of the victims' belongings were later connected to him. Then came perhaps the biggest clue of all. David Shearing disappeared. Instead of speaking with investigators, he fled. Almost overnight, he vanished into Canada's vast wilderness. His disappearance transformed the investigation into one of the country's largest manhunts. For nearly 4 years, police chased leads across Canada. Every reported sighting renewed hope. Every false lead deepened the mystery. In 1986, the hunt finally ended. Authorities located David Shearing living under an assumed identity in the Yukon. After years on the run, he was arrested and returned to British Columbia. The trial quickly became one of Canada's most closely watched criminal cases. Prosecutors argued that Shearing had murdered the family after encountering them while committing thefts in the camping area. The case relied on a combination of witness testimony, physical evidence, items linked to the victims, and Shearing's years as a fugitive. The jury found him guilty. In 1987, he was convicted of 6 counts of first-degree murder. He received life imprisonment with no chance of parole for 25 years. For many Canadians, the case appeared closed, but not everyone agreed. Years after the conviction, questions continued to circulate. Supporters of David Shearing argued that the evidence against him was largely circumstantial. Some pointed to disputed witness testimony. Others questioned aspects of the investigation and the prosecution's theory. These discussions have inspired dramatic headlines claiming that the case was built on a lie. However, it's important to separate speculation from established fact. No court has ruled that prosecutors knowingly relied on fabricated evidence or that the conviction resulted from a proven lie. While debate continues among some true crime enthusiasts, the legal verdict remains unchanged. Today, David Shearing, who later changed his name to David Ennis, remains one of Canada's most notorious convicted killers. Even after decades, many details remain uncertain. What exactly happened during the family's final hours? Did the murders unfold exactly as prosecutors described? Were all the events ever fully reconstructed? Some questions may never be answered. What is certain is that 6 innocent people lost their lives during what should have been a peaceful family vacation. The tragedy forever changed the lives of everyone who knew them. It also became a reminder of how quickly an ordinary day can become one of history's darkest crimes. The Wells Gray murders remain one of the most haunting cases in Canadian history. A loving family disappeared into one of the world's most beautiful wilderness areas. Weeks later, investigators uncovered a scene that shocked an entire nation. A man was convicted. Justice, according to the courts, was delivered. Yet decades later, debate still surrounds parts of the investigation, fueling books, documentaries, and online discussions that continue to ask whether every question was truly answered. Whether you believe the case was solved beyond doubt or think some mysteries remain, one fact never changes. 6 innocent people never came home from what was supposed to be a simple camping trip. And that is the real tragedy at the heart of this story. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, do you believe the investigation answered every question, or do you think this case still holds secrets? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next true crime documentary.